Dude,
What's up?
you don't have a computer?
Nothing with like mics or anything like that.
You're so annoying.
My wife's using a computer. My kids are using the computers.
Mm-hmm.
This is what it is, dude. This is love in the time of coronavirus.
That's right. We're going to make do with what we have. Anyhow, let's see here. Matthew, should we go ahead and just do the intro?
Do you want me to tell you a little story? We can talk about it on air or not, but so this guy sent me an email.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I listened to your podcast and I would like a consultation with you about an issue, immigration problems that I have. Did you get the same email? He's from Atlanta.
I don't think so.
That's weird. He chose me. Huh?
Okay, well, okay.
We have to include that in the thing. That was just a little dig at you.
That I wasn't included? Was that the end of the story?
Yeah, that's it. He heard two immigration lawyers on the podcast, and he decided to contact me. So.
Oh, I see. Right. Well, look, if I rubbed your nose in it every time I got an email about how great I am on the podcast, and not you.
Are you looking for immigration advice, to hire you as an attorney?
Oh, no, I don't get any of those, of course. Naturally.
Okay.
So let's see here. Well, let's just do this, I guess. Welcome to Redirect. This is Immigration Law and Perspectives. Matthew is apparently working out in the background. He's my trusty co-host, breathing heavily into the phone, which could be working out, could have coronavirus.
I'm pretty sure I have it, just so you know.
Is that for real?
I'm pretty sure. Every time I cough, I'm convinced I have coronavirus.
Well,
even though it's like allergy season and I would be coughing anyways. But we have a lot of it here in New Jersey.
Right. We just had our second death yesterday in Yakima, and it was somebody in their 30s. So that was... and
it was what?
Somebody in their 30s. So Matthew hasn't figured out how to record from a computer, apparently. So he's calling into the show, and that's why we're doing that. But this is a immigration law...
First-time caller, long-time listener.
That's right. Immigration Law Podcast. Matthew and I are immigration lawyers for those first-time listeners out there. People probably have lots of time now to listen to podcasts, so that's good. Nothing.
Do they, though? I mean, because most people listen to podcasts when they're in their car. I mean, that's why I listen to them.
In the car. That's true.
I feel like...
You can still drive. You just can't go anywhere. Yeah, lots to talk about. I wanted to start with something just in general, taking a big step back. We're starting to see, I think, the unemployment claims in Washington this week rose something like 800%.
Yeah, that's not really a big deal. That's not a big deal.
800%, kind of a lot. And you're starting to see that, I think, across the board. Things are going to be getting really terrible, not just in terms of the virus, but these sort of secondary ripple effects that we're going to start to see. It's one thing to lose your job, and then it's another thing, usually maybe a week later, sometimes less for certain people, you're then out of money. And when you're out of money, after a week, maybe you eat all the food in your house. And so we're maybe 2 or 3 weeks away from things, putting aside the virus, being really, really bad. And I don't normally like to talk about Facebook drama on the show because we have a broader audience than just like niche immigration lawyers. But you and I are on some Facebook immigration lawyer groups, right?
That's how we met.
And that's how we fell in love. And, it's a good place for getting information about a case or you need help with something or you want to know about a particular immigration judge. But it's also a place to sort of air some grievances. So I was complaining the other day, now that people aren't coming in to bring evidence, I prefer scan or fax, but they can also take pictures with their cell phones. Technology is great. But every picture I get is at like a 45-degree angle from the document with like a dog tail over, one corner and the person's thumb, right over some important part. Anyways, it's a place to sort of air these types of grievances or tell very niche immigration lawyers.
It may have been a little exaggeration, right? Just for comedic effect.
Right, a little bit, but honestly, not that much.
Very little.
Yeah, very. We need to have a seminar, actually. I'm going to post on my business Facebook about, if you're going to take a picture of a document, this is how you should do it. So anyhow, this guy posts, an immigration lawyer. I'm not going to read it exactly because I don't have it right in front of me, but essentially he says, people are calling and asking for basically a break on their monthly payments. And then he tells them to go F themselves. He says, these people can go F themselves. And so this sparked off a big debate. I thought that you would have seen it because you're normally right on top of these things.
Yeah, I didn't see it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Here's the actual quote. He says, I can't believe these fucking clients think that monthly payments are suspended too. Go fuck yourself. This is March 23rd. So, we're in the middle of a global pandemic. And so I replied, I can't imagine why they'd want to stop paying you. Because he seems like such a pleasant guy. But
seems so nice.
Yeah, this sparked a whole debate about, look, you and I have businesses, we've got bills to pay, families to feed, and we rely on people meeting their contractual obligations with their office, right?
Yeah.
And that's true, but it's also a global pandemic. It's
yeah, well, I mean, think of it this way. I mean, so regular Joe, U.S. citizen, loses a job because of the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, he collects unemployment, he'll get Trump cash, maybe his wife, gets some Trump cash. Yeah, they can piece it together. A lot of our clients can't collect unemployment, right? They're shit out of luck,
right.
As far as employment. They're not going to get any Trump cash.
No food stamps.
If you want to be,
no SNAP.
I mean, if you want to be, and this is about business too. Here, if our friend listens to the show, I would tell you this is about business because this shit's not going to go on forever, right? And if you're a dick to your clients now,
mm-hmm.
When they're really struggling, you don't think they're going to remember that?
Right.
I mean, seriously.
It's definitely a bad PR move. It's a good point what you say, like they don't have access to certain things. At least I think for me, most of my clients are on the lower income spectrum, and so they probably don't have a ton of savings stashed away. And if somebody is out of work indefinitely and can't get back to work and doesn't have a social safety net, like what good does it do to demand payment in full every month and to tell people to F themselves? Like the money it's just not there. The point of talking about these unemployment numbers and everything is there's going to be a whole lot of that, like across the board. My hope, and the reason why I bring it up, is not to just drag this guy, who, in my opinion, kind of deserves to be dragged, but we're going to have to suck it up and be better to each other.
Yeah. Yeah. We just have to figure it out. I mean, we had a conversation on my local listserv about, was there anything in Pennsylvania about rent abatements or anything with that with like small businesses? And so I got in a conversation with a few attorneys and they're like, fuck it, don't pay your rent. Like if you can't pay your rent, don't pay it. I can pay it. I'm okay. Unlike apparently these huge corporations who have absolutely no savings whatsoever, I have a little bit saved up, for
right.
slow times. So hopefully I'll be okay. But it's like one of those concerns I think about. This goes on for a long period of time. Like, what are we going to do to pay rent, right? How are we going to pay our staff?
Right.
And that all ties into people paying us as well. But
right.
I'm not going to tell, this woman who works doing dishes in a restaurant in Philadelphia, and she just got laid off and she has no money and she has 2 kids to take care of. I'm not going to be like, oh man, fuck you didn't give me my $250 this month. What does that do,
Yeah. And, during normal times, my staff is always on me. They think I'm too easy on people. And I don't know if you've ever had those cases where somebody really tries to haggle with you, like, couldn't you do a little bit less? And you say, no, this is going to be the price right now. And then they immediately pull the money out of their pocket. I've had that happen a lot of times. They think it's like a car dealership situation and they take advantage of your generosity. Now, that's not every case, obviously. And being an immigration lawyer in part is learning to discern when to give a break or when to do pro bono and when not to. And it's not always easy to decide. But, this is different. These are folks who maybe they've worked at the same restaurant, a staple of the community for 20 years, and there's just no restaurant anymore. And I do think, to hedge a little bit, not that I would ever come down on the side of this guy, but there's probably some cases where you're doing some work and there's not necessarily a deadline, and maybe they're already behind on some payments, and they want to come in and say, I can't pay, and also I want you to now expedite my case on an emergency basis because now I'm in a big hurry. And I think that there's some space to say, well, your case is simply not a priority right now based on, my caseload and the fact that you're unable to pay. And so I'm going to have to sort of put it on the back burner. And, I think that there's some room for businesses to do things like that, I guess. But
yeah, no, I mean, look, it's running a business is hard. Being able to navigate the times that we're going through and going to go through is going to be challenging. But trust me and trust us, this not as challenging as what our clients are going to be facing. Most of our clients are going to be facing without any safety net. And they're going to be forced to go out there and work and find work and put themselves at risk, put their families at risk,
right.
Put our society in general at risk because we've decided that we're not going to do anything for these people. And as tough as it is for us, it's a lot tougher for that person who can't make the $150 payment. This is the one thing I kind of hope Trump is right about, right? That things are going to blossom on Easter and everything's going to be better.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think we know he's not right. But yeah, I'm kind of ready for this shit to be over.
Me too, for sure. But you're also kind of saying that like before the starter pistol's been fired. Like we're definitely at the beginning. And
here in New Jersey, we're just up to, I think, 9,000 cases.
Yeah. The point of bringing that up, it's going to be hard probably for you and I eventually, like you said, not as hard as, because these things are going to trickle up, right? So our clients are going to get to a point where they can't pay. Their life is stretched totally thin to almost nothing. And that's when they are unable to pay us. And then, we suffer as a secondary consequence. But things are going to be bad, I think, across the board. I don't know. I mean, I guess if you're like a pharmacist or something like that, you'll have steady work, or a doctor. Now you're risking your life.
Well, I mean, I think we're being a little selfish, though, about overlooking the real tragedy in all this. I mean, companies like Boeing and Carnival Cruise Lines.
Yeah.
I mean...
Right. And I saw, I think it was the Cheesecake Factory. A lot of these big corporations have come right out and said, like, we're not paying rent. Like, we're just not going to do it. And it's like, I understand they've been a couple weeks now without a revenue stream in some places, but like, really, you can't put together 2 weeks? It seems crazy.
Well, interestingly enough, my building right next to it is like the Cheesecake Factory, and it's run by the same management company. So I may be following their lead at some point.
Right.
It's going to be interesting, though. It might be one of those things where we go to our landlords and say, hey, we need to renegotiate this lease right now.
Right.
And I'm going to give you half. So it's going to be interesting times. But, the management company, they employ people.
Right.
It's not like they're this pile of money that doesn't do anything. So it affects everybody.
I mean, they're a pile of money that doesn't do that much.
Yeah.
But they do some things. Like, I see what you're saying. But yeah, and the Carnival Cruise thing is crazy because they're not even like U.S. companies. And Trump keeps talking about how they're such an important industry. And it's really not. Like, cruises are the worst.
Are they important?
No. It's just the worst.
Isn't that like part of the problem? I mean, I think, good old Glenn Becky, but aren't they kind of part of the problem there? I mean, they seem like they kind of spread it around pretty well.
Yeah, and yeah, I don't know all the details about that. I mean, I've heard some things about how they didn't do a real good job of getting ahead of the curve, and apparently they're already well known as being sort of incubators for disease and those types of things, because the air is all sort of circulated throughout the ship and people are right on top of each other, so to speak.
This is a terrible time to announce our Redirect Immigration Law and Perspectives cruise to the Caribbean. Where me and Steven will be on board to entertain you.
It's a live podcast / motivational speech / multi-level marketing scheme where
Matt Cameron will be given a few graduate courses on board.
Right.
So
you just got to get in there. Everybody in your downline pays $10, and I don't know. We haven't figured out all the details, but yeah, that's on hiatus. I guess we talked about this last week. You know, the courts are closed, but kind of. Have you been following this? This is a kind of insanity. What's going on with the immigration courts?
No, I mean, so they're going to open right back up after Easter, right?
Yeah, which is it's great knowing that I'm putting in all this effort right now to protect myself and my family, and that in about 2 weeks I'll be forced to drive to downtown Seattle, climb to the top of a federal building with a bunch of other people and pretend like it's business as usual. So that's a lovely thought.
Fortunately, I don't have that much court coming up. I have 3 cases right after Easter, and I filed my motions to continue already for them. So, but they're all in Newark, where there's a trial attorney who was infected, who's in a coma, and a court interpreter who was infected, who's at home in quarantine. That's what we know of. So it's like, I don't think anyone's all that excited to go back. And New Jersey's like right next to New York now. I mean, we are right next to New York, but we're right next to New York as far as cases. I practice mainly in Newark and Philadelphia. And so in Philadelphia is, starting to creep in there. I mean, all along the Eastern Seaboard, there are people travel all the time to New York and around. So, it's going with everybody. So I can't believe they can open. I mean, I can't believe that they'll open the court. But it just seems just reckless and stupid and dangerous. And you wonder what court staff and judges are going to do, and trial attorneys.
Yeah, and it's also been just really confusing how they've rolled this out. So they announced previously that the immigration court in Seattle was going to be closed till the 10th. And then the other day at 7 at night, they tweet out that the court's going to be open the next day. And everyone's like...
Seattle and Newark.
Yeah, and everybody was like, what does that mean? Does that mean open? Like, are there going to be hearings? Or... So nobody knows. No one knows. And the next day, the court administrator at 7 a.m. emailed somebody from the AILA listserv and said, oh, it's just for filings, so there won't be any hearings.
In Newark, we found out at 10 o'clock at night. In the morning, someone from AILA contacted the court administrator, and she had no idea. Maybe she doesn't follow Twitter, because that's how it was announced.
Right.
But it's crazy. All this shit is announced via Twitter. And the court administrator didn't know, and I guess at least that first day, no one was there. None of the court staff or the judges or the court administrator showed up.
Right.
So,
well, that's great. That's been kind of what we're dealing with. Hopefully, and I got some word out of at least Portland that the Office of the Chief Counsel, the ICE attorneys, are. And I can't speak for them, but this is apparently what they passed along to an attorney there. They're going to be very generous with non-opposing motions to continue. I mean, they don't want to be there. The judges don't want to be there. And so hopefully I'm going to file motions to continue for everything basically through May, I think. At least a motion to continue with the option to cancel same day, because the nature of this thing is such that maybe you need to go forward with a hearing and you're all prepared, but you're feeling a little sick the day before, your client is, and you need to be able to call the court and just say no, and this isn't happening.
Yeah, so pro tip, if you're in a hearing that you don't want to be in, just start coughing.
Okay. Hey, candor to the court. I totally disagree.
I cough all the time. It's like allergy season, so. Isn't it weird? You go out in public. Have you been out in public lately?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I have.
Irresponsible. Anyways, so I was at the store the other day, I'm trying to keep my social distance and all that, and I felt a sneeze coming on, and I was panicking. I'm like, what am I going to do? Before this, when you sneeze in public, people would be like, oh, God bless you.
Yeah.
Or you would cough and people slap you on the back, you okay? Now, people just give you dirty looks and they run away. Like,
right.
So I'm like trying to suppress my sneeze. I'm trying to like get to a place in the store where I'm completely isolated. I'm like, man, I'm not going out anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Just.
I was headed to the Bananas at the grocery store. This was like a week ago. And there's a lady standing right in front of him, and she's coughing into her arm. And so I stop 50 feet away, and I'm just staring at her like, what? Like, do I go over there now, or like how wide of a circle do I need to make to get around to the Bananas? I'm plotting my course. Last thing I guess we can mention, and again, we're repeating ourselves a little bit from the show we did Monday, but folks are still in immigration detention.
So are they letting people out where they're starting to let people out in New Jersey and the detention centers there in York County Detention Center and Pike Detention Center in Pennsylvania?
Yeah, so the Northwest Immigrant Rights Project just sent out an email this morning that they've had success, I think, with 4 different individuals getting them released. These are people with pre-existing health concerns or people who are particularly vulnerable. But that was huge because up until, I guess, this morning, their position was basically in Tacoma that there have been no positive tests, and so everything's fine. We just know that that's not the case. I mean, they're interacting with guards and with people all the time. I've got a habeas pending for my one guy. He's got some health concerns. I filed an amendment to the habeas this morning just saying like, hey, get this guy out, and we'll see.
Yeah, so I think it's the Brooklyn Legal or like Defense Project.
Uh-huh.
It's either Brooklyn or the Bronx. They just won a case in the Southern District in New York that released, I think, over 10 people from Essex County in New Jersey, Bergen County in New Jersey, and a couple of jails in New York City, based on the whole coronavirus thing. And I think after that, we started seeing releases in York, so in Pennsylvania and around the eastern part of the country. And hopefully that goes forward. I mean, I know if you go on the Twitterverse and you see some of our right-wing friends, they're very, very upset about people being released from jail or detention centers. But if people get sick in the detention center, it's not like the thing skips over guards and administrative staff and, the medical staff there. And it's not like these guards and administrative staff and medical staff, it's not like they live there. They go home into the communities. So it's like we have to try to do whatever we can to stop it. And then if people are really sick in detention centers and prisons and jails, it's not like we just kill them yet. Not yet.
Not yet.
They need to have medical care, and they're going to have to go to hospitals with ventilators and all these things. There are a lot of really stupid people. And I think this is kind of highlighting that.
Yeah, that's definitely true. There's lots of stupid people. The one thing I think that somebody called into the talk radio today, I tried to get through, but I couldn't. Their lines were full. But people are fired up, but there's also this sense that they don't know what to believe, and they want to kind of just go on with their lives. And, that's one thing that the president's been successful in doing is sowing this sort of confusion, like it's serious, but we got to get back to work, but it's not that serious, and on. And there's folks that don't understand how we're sort of all interconnected. And a lot of them are expressing this idea that like, well, I'm willing to take my chance and so on and so forth. And that's nice. Like if it were only you who could get it, then, great. Go out and about and take your chances, but that's not how infectious, contagious diseases work. You can spread them to people who maybe are less enthusiastic about dying. So,
oh man, it is. And then now Trump's talking about like, oh, we'll open up certain parts of the country that haven't been affected by this, and I think that sounds okay if you don't think about things.
Right.
So, like Nebraska, they haven't been affected. So we should open that back up. And then, people from Missouri who have been affected, they're like, hey, man, everything's closed here. I can't work. Let me go to Nebraska. And there's nothing stopping them, right? We don't have border controls on their states, then they'll go, or people from New York will go, and then we have open borders here in the United States.
That's true. We sure do. Now, the idea that we would get back to work sooner than later would make sense if we had like aggressive testing and quarantining practices, but we just don't. My buddy has it. He's been locked up in his apartment for a couple weeks. And it's bad, by the way, too. It's lingering and it sucks to get it, but there's no real way for him to get tested. There's been no coordinated effort to like find out, okay, you have it, so let's talk to the people that you've interacted with and let's get them tested too. There's absolutely zero of that. And if there were, and this is what they've done, I guess, in South Korea and other places, you could start to ease back into work, but it's just not happening.
Yeah, but they ease back in China, and now there's a second outbreak, right?
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah, and the thing is, we're aggressively testing in places that we know where it is, and that's great. But we need to be aggressively testing in places where they don't have much, so you can figure that out. But we're going to be 2 steps behind this the whole way. It's gonna hurt you.
Well, anyhow, good times.
It's depressing.
Good times.
So maybe we should talk about immigration.
Okay.
Everything is closed, right? All the consulates are closed. I've had a bunch of clients, they've had their interviews canceled for consulates abroad. And man, that's depressing. I have one who's like been waiting for years. And, she was going to go yesterday. It's canceled, and who knows when they're going to start back up.
Mm-hmm. The thing that's kind of freaky about it, if you took Stephen Miller and you asked, like, what is your ideal situation, he would say to shut the whole thing down, other than the immigration courts, right? Like, let's keep that going. But everything else, like, what if we could just pull the plug on USCIS? And this is that. Now, as things eventually roll back to some sort of normalcy, the question to me will be, will there be unnecessary delays in rolling immigration back? Probably. And then also, we were already starting to face serious backlogs in certain areas. And now there's going to be, it's going to take, who knows, 2 or 3 years to get like a green card interview maybe. And will there be any appetite for boosting up the immigration system to get caught up on those cases or not?
Yeah, when we're at 20 to 25% unemployment, you think things are bad now with immigration. You're not going to have a public who's going to be like chomping at the bit for legalization, right?
Right.
Or any type of positive program. And look what's going on at the southern border now. Now it's like, I don't even know. We have to find out what exactly is going on down there. But I think they kind of closed it all, so no one's allowed in, and people are just being turned back, even if they have asylum claims. And I imagine, when this thing is all said and done, they're probably going to want to keep doing that.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of like we were saying, if we get a Democrat in the White House, how much of the Trump stuff gets rolled back, or how much of it do they just sort of like, it's the way things are now. And whether it's Trump or somebody else, if and when things get back to normal, the question will be like, does immigration get normalized or not?
But aren't you kind of inspired by the strong leadership that we're seeing from Joe Biden?
I can't even, like, the one thing that really, I know we're like in a global pandemic and unemployment claims are up 800% and everything is terrible. But the one thing that sends me into a full-on panic attack is watching Joe Biden talk.
Well, he's going to have a town hall tonight.
Oh, is that true?
CNN.
Oh, Jesus.
I think it's tonight. Either tonight or tomorrow, he's going to have a town hall about the coronavirus. Joe Biden.
I just think
Anderson Cooper.
There have to be meetings, and if they're not, this is like malpractice on their part. There have to be meetings between Obama and whoever going like, what do we do? We've got to do something here. We got to figure something out. But this is like, this can't move forward. I tweeted a few weeks ago, I was like, they're going to do something to replace him either after the nomination or before. They're going to swap him out for somebody else. And people are like, you're crazy. But I honestly, this this can't be the plan. And if it is,
we would want it to be Bernie, right? So let's kind of preface the next things that we say after this, that we would prefer Bernie, right?
Right.
But we know it's not going to be Bernie, right? They're not going to swoop in and go, okay, Bernie.
Okay, Bernie,
it's
right.
yours now, you know? So who would you, other than Bernie, who do you think would be an acceptable person? You have everyone to choose from.
Yeah, I really hate when people do I'd vote for a broken chair. I hate that. Like, okay, broken chair can't even be president under the Constitution. I'm a lawyer. I went to law school. I know desperate times, desperate measures, but like have a position, right?
Yeah.
But honestly, a broken chair. No, I still like Warren. I know that's not like a popular take on some parts of the left. Warren, Harris, Booker, these are people who are not ideal, but who I think could beat Trump and not be fascist. That's sort of that's my goalpost, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see. Like, I don't usually watch these things, but I might tune into the town hall just to see how he does. They've been hiding him.
Yeah,
you know,
he did a little like 2-minute thing a while ago, like a week ago. The substance was all there and it was basically fine. I think it was edited, but it was still like, it's a struggle for him. You can tell, like, to get through an idea, it's, even when it's right, it's wrong, is what I'm trying to say. It's really bad, but we'll see. I also don't know the mechanisms that they would need to use to do that, to do a candidate swap.
It would have to happen at the convention, right? I mean, they would have to have a brokered convention.
Yeah, or it seems like maybe if he gets through to the nomination and he picks a VP, at some point he steps down and then it's the VP. I mean, I don't know. I don't know the rules, but some people are saying, oh, they're trying to prime Cuomo to take his place. But I don't think they can just say, like, okay, it's Cuomo now. Like, obviously.
Well, I mean, if it's a brokered convention, then you can offer anybody up.
I see.
But yeah, I don't think it's going to go to Cuomo, and I don't think anyone's like propping up Cuomo. He's just kind of doing his thing. You know, that's what he's got to do.
Right.
You know, so yeah, he's I don't know. I was a big fan of his father. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Anyways, lots of good things. Yeah,
so many good things.
Do
you remember when they announced DAPA? And it was like, I'm going to retire early and help so many people. And just living in that headspace for like a couple of weeks was, yeah. Anyways, just a little flashback there for you.
All right, man. It was good talking to you.
All right. Take care.
We'll have the details on the cruise coming up soon.
All right. Later.
See ya.